can think again and again, but we are headed for a great reset. A great reset of money and the great divergence from fiat currencies. Even though it is a health crisis and people are suffering around the globe, it is seen as a golden opportunity for a great reset. It is not only shown in the World Economic Forum. If we search in the IMF website, you can actually see they are also mentioning there is gonna be a great reset. It shows a radical plan to transform the economy. Okay, now how can we actually change the economy? World Economic Forum actually shows this. The great research requires fintechs. So what does that actually mean? We have to read through the documents, right? So I'll say this, don't actually close your eyes, keep your eyes wide open and read this with me. Fintech providers are key to the structural enhancements of financial services during the Great Reset. So when we are focusing on the Great Reset, fintechs are going to play a great role in this. World Economic Forum's Fintech Cybersecurity Consortium released recommendations for a common approach. We actually saw one document previously and we actually went through those, right? Now, yes, I agree. We are all human beings and we have many doubts. So as a human being, now you have a lot of questions. If you have a questions, then we will actually go through different documents which are from credible sources and try to understand how this digital transformation will actually take us into a new era where we can actually profit, or how this tokenized economy will look like and how to profit from this great change. Now, one more thing. If you think this is only happening because of the current health crisis, you are mistaken, because these documents, many of which are directly talking about this great reset, they were published way before. If you go look at the publication dates, you can actually see what I'm arguing here. You can actually validate that. Just look at the publication date of these documents. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. If you are perceiving value and understand the effort assimilated into this content, please do support the channel, hit that like button. And if you are new here and haven't subscribed yet, please do support the channel, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's actually move in and listen to 1-2 videos which will actually give you some kind of insights about where we are headed and how it can actually be understood into a way that we can use it to profit.
To life, our relationship to the planet, our relationship to work.
We need a different economic model. And by that I don't mean capitalism versus communism. What I'm talking about is a shift in the system along the lines of the two big changes that happened in the 20th century, Keynesianism, with a much greater focus on health and education and the role of government working with business, and then a reaction against that in late century to neoliberalism, where the focus was on free markets, freedom of the individual, and getting governments out of the way. We need a shift to a new system that will allow us to meet the basic needs of every human on the planet, that will live within planetary means, that will be fairer, and that will be focused as its key goal, not on growth per se, but on maximizing human well-being. And history tells us that a values shift is triggered by creation of a new story about how we want to live.
The fourth industrial revolution and the change towards a new perspective of living looks interesting, right? Everyone actually was looking at their freedom in the last change, and now I think we are going to go for a complete control. Now that may, you can actually agree with me or disagree with me. Anyway, that's my argument. Now, the second video will actually show you something different. Now we'll actually play from the 40th second of this video and let's analyze that. That was quick, right? But if you actually focused on that one, you can actually see they were talking about the reset. And then when we were going through that, initially they actually showed you currencies, right? The value. First was Chinese yuan, then you came digital dollar, the dollar, which will be digitized soon, right? So these are stuffs which kind of points us towards a great reset. Now, as of now, when you actually go into these websites, say for supranational organizations, what you can see is like they point you towards a great reset and they label it like this is happening just because we have a health crisis all around the world, right? Now, if you actually go through different documents from them, now, yeah, first of all, if you have a doubt about why we are talking about great reset from this health crisis and fintechs, I actually showed you the answer here, right? Because the great reset requires fintech. And why and for what? It is there for the structural enhancement, providing a new infrastructure for financial service. So that has to be kept in mind when we are talking about these things, right? Now, is the time for a great reset? Everyone is kind of agreeing on that. These are not my statements, right? These are coming from institutions which are well respected all around the globe. Now, it depends if you agree with these statements or not. That's your personal view. But these are the facts. If you believe or not, we are actually headed in this way. Now, when we actually go through different news outlets, we can actually see the same is being showcased, a radical plan to transform the economy. And how the economy can be transformed? The financial services should be changed first, right? And that is happening. Now, this is a big document, but if we actually focus on what is happening here, we can actually understand, say, we directly jump into page number 8 here. They actually talk about transforming the businesses, meaning the way business work. And how they're going to transform that? They're going to transform it into a digital way. Now, you can actually argue that in advanced economies, they are already digital, but the new normal would be a bit different. Most of the majority of huge businesses would be having their own tokens. Now, central banks would be coming up with central bank digital currency. And when we move into the new era of tokenized world or digitized world, we may actually see something different. Now, as we look at these, we can actually understand they are actually talking about de-risking or cost revenue area. If you look at just that, now they're actually talking that for finance and investment side. So if you actually look at financial industry, you can actually understand there is a lot of tied in capital which they can't actually use as of now, and most of them are going in negative balances only because of this stuff. Now, if they have to actually change that, you can actually see new tech capabilities and growth objectives. They can be used to what? Used de-risking, right? Finding new revenue. So that is new business model. So it is actually coming in. Now, as we go through the document and read through it, we can actually understand they are looking at using the digitized way or the new technology to change the core business model. And real-time decisions at the edge. Decisions made on a historical data and trading forecasting models are too slow. 63% of executives cite slow decision making as a barrier to agility. Now, based on current blockchain technology, everything is changing. It's not only the payments industry, right? Every aspect is changing, and once the real-time decision is reaching the experts, they can actually take in that. So that is the way it's going to change. So once we actually understand this, this is the way forward. If we don't, then yeah, we are going to miss something big. Now, as we move forward, this is another document which is published back in 2017, and they also talk about the great divergence and the great convergence. Now, they are actually talking about, the gap between the rich and the poor from the West and the rest of the nation, rest of the world. And they are actually highlighting now it's kind of narrowing down. And they talk about a shift towards Asia, Latin America, and Africa. We, the people from the West won't actually agree or may not agree on this point, but that's literally happening. Now, this is a great read to understand the business history of the world and how it was and where it is and what are the probabilities we are looking at. Now, this is another document, which is a book, which was published back, and it's also showing great reset. Now, keep in mind, these books were published way before this current pandemic hit the world, but they all talk about a great reset, an endgame, a reset, right? This book, it's another book showing the big reset, war on gold, and financial endgame. So that's also talking about an endgame and a big reset, but it was also published, if you see, back in 2014. So these are stuff which we have to actually keep in mind. Now, yes, this is pretty large book, so we'll jump into key areas of this one. So that's page number 186. You can actually see, now don't say 187 because it's actually 186 here in the book. So if you are following the book, I'll put these description in the description. So if you want to read through that, you can. So when we actually come into the page 186 in the book, you can actually see the big reset. Now different individuals actually talk about this based on their own perspective. Now in order to understand that, we can actually assimilate into that just by reading these lines. I believe that basically the system is broken and needs to be reconstituted. Now yes, I agree, this is from Soros, and many, some actually agree with that guy because he is an established investor. Some don't. So we can actually look at others from central banks. European Central Bank from here. New rules have been discussed not only inside the advanced economies but with all emerging economies, including China. So those are new rules. They have already discussed that. Now if you say that there is no big reset, no great reset, you can actually fool yourselves. You can kind of close your eyes and say, no, none of this is actually happening. Now many of who I personally know have kind of conveyed the information, but they kind of responded in the opposite way. They don't actually see the other side of this coin. Even if I show them the real documents, they kind of, they don't actually want to go through that and understand this is happening. Now, in this particular one, there is a lot to understand. So you have to actually stay focused. Say, for example, when we say a grinding up of an asset value and in just one day it goes 10 times, that's a different story, right? So in this book, that actually discusses that creatively. Now, just for the perspective, we can directly jump into page number 227, and they actually talk about how this is going to look in the future. So in that one, as we move, say in page number 228, they are talking like this: a new gold dollar will be created at 10 times the value of the old dollar. You have to actually understand that. And the windfall profits tax of 90% would be imposed on all private gains from the upward revaluation of gold. I'm talking about the revaluation of the gold, and that's 10 times the current value in dollar terms. Wow. Say for example, currently it's somewhere around $1,900. So it goes to $19,000, say $20,000, considering the previous all-time highs. Wow, that's huge. But the key take in that is they are going to tax 90% of those gains. So that doesn't actually make sense, right? If we are going into investing into the physical dollars, then that doesn't actually make sense. Anyway, we'll come from the beginning and we'll try to catch up with that kind of information. See, as we move forward in the same document, say when we reach page number 191, we can see this. How can the international monetary system be changed? Now we have to actually read through this to understand, so I'll try to enlarge the document. See, if we actually read through this, you can actually understand a new reset will simply bring our monetary system to the next phase, meaning it's actually moving phase by phase, and they already know that these stuff are going to happen at time when they actually require it to. All parties involved, like the US, EU, BRICS countries, Japan, Middle East, have so much to lose if they wait too long implementing the necessary changes. And the US knows they have the most to lose because they have the reserve currency. Currently the dollar is the reserve currency, so it will affect them the most. Now what they are talking about here, a new monetary system in which you will be having a new reserve currency standard. Now they talk about the Bretton Woods standards, first one, second one, third one. We actually went through that in the previous IMF discussion, right? And when did experts begin to understand the system had to change? Now, after the last financial crisis, which majority call GFC, Great Financial Crisis, they were actually looking at this one because the banks and the current setup, infrastructure for banks is kind of, vulnerable. So they are actually looking at a transformation. Now, from the IMF and others, we are actually talking about changing our financial system into next phase, right? So when we actually look at that, say we'll directly move into page number 210 here, and we talk about gold, because many still actually ask about how it will be. Will the gold will be backed by the dollar or even a digitized asset fully? But experts actually believe that there will be no return to a full gold standard. Gold will probably play much greater role in the next phase of the financial system. So previously we talked about a reset. moving into a new phase of the financial system, and here it talks gold will probably play more greater role in the next phase of the financial system. And we actually saw in the central bank digital currency documents that they are actually looking at backing it with all the central bank reserves, so that is possible. Now the role of gold during and after a move to a multi-currency reserve system is an important issue. Now if I read through this, it will actually take a lot of time. They are actually talking about a document of OMFIF. Now if you remember this, previously OMFIF actually highlighted Ripple in the new blockchain banking paper, in which they talk about the ability of this particular technology to radically transform the financial industry. So that's just to give you a perspective. Now in this document, they actually state like different reserve currencies are actually possible. So if we actually move, say, towards page number 216, you can actually see what they are talking about, the new studies, how they are actually showing. So as we go into this one, they can actually show some multi-reserve currency systems, say one for Europe, one for Asia. All the other regions will be having their own reserve currency. But when if that's to happen, you need a bridge currency to do business in between that, right? Europe to Asia, right? Asia to American side, America to Europe. So if that's to happen, you actually need a bridge asset to do these conversions in a easier way, right? Because we already know that digital euro is going to come out, digital dollar is going to come out, Japan is coming out, Thailand is coming out with their own digital currency. So automatically these are into that way. Change is happening. If we agree with that or not, change is here. Now if we actually move into, say, page number 228, as I showed you just before this one, they're actually talking about a revaluation of an asset 10 times. So think, if that is happening, it means the currency there is dollar, that is going to be devalued. If you understand this properly, gold is revalued and it is appreciating in the price. So at the same time, you can also understand that, in other words, dollar is depreciating in its value. So if you consider that, say for example, here they're going to tax you 90% in terms of gold. But what if you're going to get the same profit in a digital asset or in any other digital assets? If we are entering into a digital economy, a tokenized economy, that would be, in that case also they would be actually taxing you, say 50%, 45%, that depends on one country to another. But it would be much better than what they will be targeting for gold holders. Why? The gold bucks who are, if you look at now, you can actually see most of them are aged folks, say in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. The newbies or the next generation investors are into digital assets. So as we actually move forward, we can actually understand money is being reimagined. Now it's based on the technology, it's based on the political side and the current pandemic here, right? So the global reset is looming. Now this document is published by April 10, 2020. So it's kind of more concentrating on the current health crisis. Now they actually talk about different kind of how it can be done. The previous system is like this and the current system is moving like this. We are having these kind of stuff issues and how we can actually reimagine the changed new system. Again, a new document showing the coming global reset. So if you still doubt, if you have to see that it's published on October 31st, 2019. So if this one is new after the health crisis, this one was before that, and still it talks about a great global reset. So that is there, right? When we come back in to the World Economic Forum, they are talking it just because we have this current health crisis, it's coming. But it's not about that, it's about the global debt. In this particular document, they are actually talking about that. And consider one thing, when they talk about this debt, when we move into a new economy, this debt has to be cancelled. And recently in our previous videos, we actually showed you one document in which IMF talks about forgiving debt for nations who can actually afford these. Now how can we actually connect these with the digital asset XRP? Now, I'll actually go through this document, which is also showing a great depression is ahead. And if we want to avoid that one, we have to actually reset. We have to hit that reset button. So how can that reset be? Because we know that everything is moving in internet way, right? The e-commerce platform. So if you actually look at this particular one, this is just an example of how one product from Ripple can actually do unimaginable thing in the new era where we are moving into digitized world or a tokenized world. So that is just one platform based on XRP ledger, right? So they have been funded by Ripple and they are working on a lot of things. Now we actually know that it's not only Zum which is connected to Ripple. We can actually see Polysign that would be directly connected to the banks who will be holding or custodying the digital asset services. Now if you actually look forward, you can actually see they're actually trying to come up with new type of XRP, which itself will be meaning in the XRP ledger, if there is a transaction, that would be having more privacy. Why they're actually focusing on that one? If you look, you'll understand that it is mainly based on the privacy requirement from the banks. Now when this all is happening one side, you can actually see the price, it's not moving, you can complain, you can say whatever you want. Now if you actually look at the price of Ethereum, now that's a 2-hour chart. I was actually going through that previously. Anyway, we'll actually go into a daily one first. You can actually see some patterns forming. Now, yeah, before jumping into the TA, I would actually say, if you guys don't actually want TA, you can actually stop here. And if you actually saw value or received value from the content, you can support the channel, hit that like button. And if you have any kind of doubts, questions, do let me know in the comment section below. I'll try to get back to you soon. Now, this one is Ethereum's chart on a daily, right? If you see this, it is kind of moving to the top and we are actually reflecting or kind of flirting with that resistance level. So if we break up here, it's kind of going to move to the upside a lot. So if you actually compare it with the previous breakout here, it broke out, it came back, retested that area and went up 122%. So that is like, the altcoins are actually gonna surge. That gives you kind of an indication when Ether actually does that. Now, if you come back, okay, here for Ether, you can actually see that the MACD has crossed. It's already moving to the upside. Then that's actually a positive news. And if you move to the 3-day chart, you can actually see it's already crossed. The volume is on the upside. That's positive side. And the MACD lines are already in the positive side, not in the negative territory. So if you actually go back and look at XRP on a daily, yes, we are having that positive volume. We are just being kept down by the 200-day moving average if you talk about technicals, but we already had a kind of a bullish cross here of 20 and 50 in daily. Now if you zoom out and move into a 3-day chart, you can actually see that currently the MACD lines are actually in the negative territory. We haven't crossed into the positive one, but you can see the volume is moving in and we are positive. And at the same time, you are getting a cross here from the 20 and 50, and from there towards the 200-day moving average, you still have 35% to go to the upside. So the potential is there and we may actually move to the upside. So if you actually come and zoom in and look at the 12-hour chart, then we still have room to the upside. But keep this in mind, this is the previous resistance area. Okay, I'll just draw this line, understand. Previous resistance area and we are currently trending within that. So if we are able to break out, that's kind of a positive sign. But at the same time, keep in mind, this is not only this particular resistance line here. If you actually try to connect these areas, say this resistance, this support, this resistance, if you draw that line here, you would actually understand we are some way near that one. Now, if you see, we actually respected that particular level. Zoom in and see, we came here, resisted at that level, came back, pumped above that, supported above that, and then came below that, retested that area, we fell, right? So that area is kind of being respected by the price or the investors who are looking at this trend, if you agree with me or not, but the investors or the traders are actually respecting that particular area. So what we have to look here now is that we already got a cross here on a 12-hour from, okay, now if you don't look at 12-hour, if you don't want to look at that, we can just move into the daily and see. Now, next thing what we are looking at here is the 20 crossing the 200-day on a daily chart. So that will be a positive sign there. Now, if you look at the volume on a weekly, because if you look at the weekly candle and the volume, you'll understand something. Here, as you can see, we talked previously, this is a continuation pattern. When you actually get this kind of stuff, it kind of shows you that this stuff is going to continue, or this trend is going to continue for some time. And if that's on a weekly chart, you got like 1 week, 2 week, and 3 week. And then we got this one and went to the downside, right? The hammer. So similar way, if we are to close this like this one, but in the technical, you also have to keep in mind, we have to actually cross this particular area and close above that one, then it's a continuation signal and we may actually move above this particular resistance line and move towards upside, which is kind of 0.3435 area, but we have overhead resistance along the way, so keep that in the mind too. So that's all for today, guys. If you like the content, please do support the channel, hit that like button, and if you are new here, again, do support the channel, hit that subscribe button. That actually allows me as a content provider to make this channel grow and reach out to majority of the XRP community members. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.